In the previous lesson, we looked at a way of using while loops when we have a definite number of repetitions to make, called counter-controlled repetition. In this video, I'm going to show you another way to use while loops when you have an indefinite number of repetitions, called sentinel-controlled repetition. So in the previous example, we knew the number of times that we wanted the loop to run, which was 10. And since this was known in advance, we could set up our loop condition so that it would only run the appropriate number of times. But many times when we're collecting data from the user, reading in a file, or accessing a database, we don't know the number of records or items that we're going to receive. So we need to know when to stop the input of values and when to go ahead and display the total. So using a special value called a sentinel value, you sometimes can see this also known as a signal value, dummy value, or flag value, to indicate that there is an end to the data entry. This method is called sentinel-controlled repetition. So the user can continue to enter numbers as many times as they want, indefinitely, and the program will continue to run them into the total until they hit our sentinel value, which in the case of our example is -1. And it's important to always make sure that the user is aware of what that sentinel value is to stop the data entry. So we have our two variables now, a total and a value. Outside of the while loop, we have to prompt one time to ask for either the incoming value or the sentinel value. We collect that information into the value variable, and our condition is to run while that sentinel value has not been received. So in this case, while value does not equal -1. If that's true, then we'll come into the block, take the value, add it into total, and place it into the total variable. And then we prompt again. So we have to check inside of the while loop to see if the user is ready to terminate and give us the sentinel value, or if we're reading in another number. So when we run this program, we can see we get please enter a number or -1 to quit, so I can continue entering numbers as many times as I want, way more than 10 if I choose, until I hit that sentinel value, in which the while loop will terminate and print the total. Some things to think about when creating sentinel-controlled repetition is that not only that your user needs to know what the sentinel value is, but the sentinel value that you choose cannot be confused with any acceptable input value. So in this case, a -1 wouldn't be an acceptable value, and I would need to make that determination when writing the program to choose a value that wouldn't otherwise be confused as a value needing to be input. So there are times when using counter-controlled repetition are appropriate, and just as much there's times when sentinel-controlled repetition is the algorithm to choose.